Hi everyone, Nigel Saunders here. Today I'm going to be pruning up this Arakawa maple or Japanese rough bark maple. This maple grew really well last summer. You can see one of the shoots is almost to the ceiling of the greenhouse here. Yeah, it put on really good strong growth, which is what I wanted because this maple is from an air layer. So my first year of owning this maple was just to strengthen up the root system, and I think the tree's done that now. So today I can give it its first serious pruning. This will be the second pruning of this tree. I pruned it for the first time last year, the same time in January. I just gave it a light pruning to make it more compact. I'll show you that video now. This is an air layer, so this is its first year that it's on its own root system. This was given to me by a member of the Toronto Bonsai Society, so thank you very, very much. Today I'm going to prune it up. You can see it's very, very long. Here is a close-up look at the Japanese maple. You can see it has lots of branches. It's a twin trunk. And as I said, this is the first year on its own root system from an air layer. So the objective this summer is to build up that root system, to develop that root system nice and strong. I should do some pruning on the tree though. It's getting very long and whippy. So I think I'll do a rough pruning, bringing back these long whips, back shorter. But I'm not going to prune it like it was a bonsai with a strong root system, not down to trunks with a few branches. I've got to kind of keep lots of foliage so it has lots of vigor to develop those roots nice and strong over the summer. Take this one back a little further. Okay, well that's got it pruned up. I don't think I want to go any further than that. I've got my rough bark Japanese maple pruned up now. There's lots of pruning to come in the future. As I said, I'm just trying to build up that root system this next summer. Then the next spring I'll do some root pruning and maybe some more top pruning too. We are back to present day time now, a year later since I first pruned the tree, and today I'm going to give it its first kind of structural prune to establish a style for the tree. I don't know much about this maple, whether it's one tree or two trees in the pot here. So my first step is I'm going to dig down in the soil and try and figure that out, if it's one tree or two trees, and find where the root base starts. All right, let's start digging around in the soil here. And I just want to see what's happening. I'm not going to repot the tree today. I think it's too early in the year. I'm going to wait until closer to spring. But I would like to see what's happening below the soil here. I probably could get away with repotting it now because it's in the greenhouse here, but I still think it's too early. So I'm going to wait. So there's lots of roots in here, lots of fine roots. It's in a fairly coarse soil. It looks like a lot of pumice, which is good. It'll have lots of root divisions in here. I'm going to have to get my tray out. You'll notice that this is a root maker pot and it's sitting in a nursery pot. So I think I'll remove it from the nursery pot. There's some roots at the bottom I need to trim. There's the roots growing out the drainage holes, so I'll just snip those away. This tree is very tall. Okay, there we go. And I'll get out my tray so I don't make quite such a mess here in the greenhouse. All right, out comes my tray. And I'll try lifting the root maker pot out of the nursery pot. Oh, it comes out quite easily now. So there's the pot it's in. The idea behind these root maker pots is they're full of holes on the side, and the roots, they'll kind of be directed with this conical shape out the hole, and then they air dry. they can't grow out into the air here, so they dry up, and it causes more root division within the pot. So the concept is to get a really fine root system within this pot. When I repot it in spring, we'll see how it worked. I'll continue now raking away the surface of the soil, trying to find the root base, or the start of the root base. So this pot is quite small in diameter, so it'll take a lot of root pruning to get kind of a flat radial root system on this tree. And I may have to do in stages, you know, reducing the roots slowly over time, the depth of them, until I get a nice root system built up. And because this is an air layer, they could be planted, you know, very deeply in the pot. So, I don't know. I may not be able to find, you know, the radial root system. It could be up here, it could be way down here. It's definitely grown roots, you know, on the surface of the soil here. I can see some thick roots, but I'll never know what, you know, the tree looks like until I take it right out of the pot and bare root it and see what's going on. So I can't dig down too far. It's looking, there is flare at the trunk at the base here, and there's some surface roots here, but I still can't tell if it's one tree or two trees. And I wish I could find out, but I think I would have to dig down too far, and I would end up like basically repotting the tree. Yeah, so I think, you know, I've gone down, you can see the trees are definitely flaring out at this level. So it definitely has roots just below the soil here. But where the actual root system is, I don't know. I can't really dig down any deeper without doing a full repotting. So I'll have to leave it like that, and yeah, we'll see in spring when I go to repot the tree what's actually going on with the roots. I'll show you a look at the bottom of the pot. I'll just turn it on its side here carefully. So there it is. So you can see the bottom has got a perforated screen, and there's roots growing out pretty well every drainage hole in the bottom. So lots of roots. That's why it grew so well last summer. My objective with the styling of this tree is to create a natural looking maple in that kind of upright, deciduous style. I'm going to begin the pruning now, and I'm going to start, you know, at the bottom and go up. So there's a branch here that's very low, and if I wanted to develop into a multi-trunk tree, I could keep this branch and develop it as another trunk line. But I don't think I want to do that. I think I want to grow it as either two separate trees, or if it's one tree, a twin trunk. So this branch is just too low down, so I'm going to remove it. So here I go. Like that. There's another branch low on the inside here. I'll just take that off. And then going up the tree, you can see this tree kind of divides here. It's a straight trunk, and then it splits into a V. And I think I like that. I don't want, you know, a curvy trunk on it. So I'll keep this division here as my first kind of major division of the tree. I could keep this lowest branch also. A lot of trees, they grow up, they'll have a branch off to one side, and then the main trunk divides into two, and then so on. So I think this branch is fine. I will clean up the stub where I pruned it last time. So I will just come in here and just kind of prune the stub out the middle, like that. I can prune this branch back. There's strong bud at the tip, and then there's two buds on both of the branches down lower. So I'll just remove that tip bud, and I'll get some dividing down lower on this branch, so it's not so straight looking. This section's kind of straight. There are some dormant buds back at the base here, which could activate and grow, and then if I wanted to replace this straight part with this growth that's closer to the trunk, I could pick one of those as the new branch leader. But I think, you know, this is fine, this length of a straight section. As the tree grows, I think it'll look fine. On the other tree, there's some low down branches here I'm going to prune off. They're just too low. And then it divides, again, the trunk line comes up, it divides into, well, 3 here, 2 big branches, and then there's again a third branch down lower. On this tree, I don't think I want that lower third branch because the trunk continues straight up above it. So I'm going to take off this branch, like that. So that kind of cleans up those trunk lines down below a little bit more. Now, I've got some really tall shoots on this tree up top. I'm going to prune it back in height so it's a little easier to rotate here. And I'm not going to use this height of branches anyway. Okay, so here comes that tallest branch. I'll prune it back to the first set of buds, and I'll prune halfway between the nodes, leaving some room for dieback so you can see how long that branch was. This one I'll do the same. This one. This one. This one. Just reducing the height of the tree, which is basically what I did on the first pruning, but this pruning I'll be selecting branches. So that's got the basic height of the tree back in check. I'll continue with the pruning now that I can rotate the tree around freely. So here I've got 2 opposite branches, a thick one on the outside and one on the inside, so I'll take the thin one off the inside there. So coming up the tree, I've got this branch, I've got one here. I've got some buds down lower on this branch. I pruned it once up here and it's divided. I could prune it back shorter, and it might be a good idea. I think, you know, this section is straight and it's just too long, so I'm going to take that one back to there. I have the same thing here, a branch coming out. There's 2 buds down lower, so I'm going to prune this one back shorter. There's a little opposite branch here I can take off. There's a branch here going on the inside of a curve, and I've got one on the outside of the curve here, so I'll take off that little one on the inside, like that. The branch on the outside of the curve, you can see it's long and whippy, so I'm going to prune that one back to there. Now, I'm getting up towards the top of the tree, and you can see all the branches growing in this spot. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 branches kind of growing in this area of the tree. It's too many. It would thicken that up. So I'm going to take some of them off. I'll start with this one. It's kind of, there's a curve here, and it's kind of on the inside of a curve almost, and it's very straight and too horizontal. So I'm going to take that one off. So I've got to decide what I want to keep here. I do want the crown of this tree to separate into upright branches forming a crown. I'll take that stub out the middle here from the last time I pruned it. That's gone. Yeah, so I have to decide what I'm going to keep on this tree and what I'm pruning off. I'm going to develop this branch as a strong branch eventually. So I think this one is directly above this lower branch, so I want to prune this one off. So this one's going to come off like that. That gives us room to grow. Then it's getting very coarse up top. You can see how thick and vigorous this vertical trunk is here. I have some shoots, some fine shoots back here I could develop. I've just got to look at the lines of the tree. Well, I'm going to start, I'll prune this one back. You can see this one comes out, it's very long and straight. I've got a division here. There's one bud's already developed and there's a dormant bud on the other side, so I'm going to prune this one back to there. The top of the tree, the same thing. I have two new shoots coming out at this level, so I can definitely take the top off like that, reducing it back. Then I've got to look at my branch placement. There's one on the inside here, just a little stub I can remove of a branch. I've got two branches here, one directly above the other. I have the same thing here, two branches directly above each other. I don't think I would want to take the top of the tree right back to here. I could. It is quite coarse up here and thick. I think I better take it back. This is too thick. On a maple you want, your thick trunk. Your primary branches are thick too, but not as thick as the trunk. And then it gets finer and finer as you go up to the upper canopy. And this is just too thick to be this high on the tree. So I think it's got to come off. And there's kind of a straight section here which doesn't really, that would grow as it grew. You wouldn't notice that, but I could reduce this branch back. There's some dormant buds here. I could reduce this branch back like that and develop new branches here, finer branches, which would be fine. I think I'm going to take out this branch, keeping the one down below. So I'm going to take this one off. Once I get in here. There I go. So that's off. And then my apex here, I've got a thin shoot here which I think I'll leave. It's good to have a healthy branch up top. I'm going to prune this one back and take the stub out the center of this one, prune this one back also. There's another little shoot growing from the base there I'm going to remove. And I think that's getting pretty close for pruning up this first tree here. These branches are fairly close together. It might be a future problem. If the branches are close together while the tree's young, as it grows older, as these branches thicken up, they look like they're almost growing from the same spot. So that's the danger of having branches too close together. If it was going to be a small tree, you would need that. You would need your branches close together. But if you're growing it into a larger tree, you need each branch to have a bit of room around it. And I'm thinking that's kind of close. So I'm trying to decide if I want to remove this branch. It is growing directly below the one in the apex there, so I think I'm going to remove it. Like that. That gives, you know, this branch, and this branch some distance between them. Okay, so I'll leave that tree like that. I think that's a good start for the tree. So let's tackle this other tree now. So you can see down below, it divides into three here. There's a skinny one growing up here, and then the two thicker ones. The diameter of the trunks is very similar, so there's, if it's one tree, you know, I'd probably make one shorter than the other, but I'm not sure. They may get separated and I'll have two trees. So I'll keep my options open. Now this length here is quite straight and without any taper, and that can be a problem. So I think this trunk line needs to be cut back quite hard. So I'm thinking, I'm looking for new branches, where to prune it. There's kind of two here that are fairly upright, so if I prune it off here, I think I would get a good looking tree. So that's where it'll come off. So big cut coming up here. Here I go. Taking the top off. This other trunk line, you can see it comes up and then it kind of curves in rather than flowing outwards. And I have a good branch here. And I think, is there just the one? Yeah, there's just the one. I could either prune it off here or down lower. And I think because it kind of curves in, I want to prune it here. So here I go. Another big cut. Developing this as the new branch leader. The one on the inside here, it's fairly upright. I don't mind it. So I'm going to leave it for now. I know it's three branches coming up from one spot, but that's often seen on maples. It's very common. And I do like the fact that this one is vertical and all the others are kind of splaying outwards. So I think I'm going to leave it at that for now. I think, you know, there may be another decision coming in the future with these branches. But for now, I think this is a good pruning. Here's a look at what I took off the tree. So yeah, some fairly large branches. But I have the trees more compact and they have kind of a basic structure now. I'll rotate it around so you can see it from all angles. So here we go. It's kind of the right side, the back, the left side, and back to a possible front. I'm going to seal up all the cuts I made today with rubber cement, so here I go. So the reason I'm pruning the maple now is that I'm hoping all these cuts heal, dry out and heal, compartmentalize, as Ryan Neal says, before spring. And then the tree won't bleed all kinds of sap out. So that's why I like to do winter pruning, because you don't lose all that sap in spring then, which is just wasted energy. The tree, you know, takes all winter to generate that sugary sap, and if it leaks out everywhere, then you're just wasting energy. The tree's made it for nothing. Another reason winter pruning is good is that when you're pruning back to these dormant buds, the hormones in the tree will make these buds swell in spring. If you left your branches long, these buds might dry up and not develop. So pruning back in winter will stimulate the growth of these buds for spring. So By springtime, when the tree is ready to leaf out, you'll see all these small buds will have swollen up and are ready to grow with vigor. I don't have many Japanese maples in my collection, and there's a few reasons. One is they're really expensive to buy, and all the ones from nurseries are grafted trees, so they have like a hardier rootstock and then another species or another variety grafted on the top, and you get these ugly graft unions. So I generally stay away from grafted trees. The other reason is they're really expensive at the nurseries. You'll typically pay $100 for a small Japanese maple, and then you have to air layer the top to kind of get rid of that ugly grafting scar, and you can eventually get some nice trees. You can take cuttings off them. You can buy it and use it for propagation. The other reason is Japanese maples are hard to grow here in Canada because we have such cold winters. You have to protect them in the winter, so I either have to put them in the basement for the winter or in the greenhouse here where it's heated for the winter, and I keep it right around the freezing point. The third reason is the other Japanese maples I've started have all gotten attacked by borer insects. They lay their eggs on the tree, they bore in the cambidium layer and eat it, and then you end up with a dead tree. So I haven't had much success with Japanese maples. So fingers crossed, I hope this tree develops into a fine bonsai in the future. So that is all for today. I'm Nigel Saunders. Thanks for joining me in the Bonsai Zone.